Hey everybody, Matt Michaels here on the DeFalco Files with the owner and creator of FSW, the Future Stars of Wrestling here in Las Vegas, Mr. Joe DeFalco. And Joe, first, good morning. Uh,
Yes.
and it was a pretty successful Sunday night for you with the luck of the draw. And I would say that. I guess the only bad luck was if you had a nose in the main event getting a little busted.
Or if you had to be the owner who had to run the music and had two computers and they both weren't working and the chaos that ensued. I spent more time during the show playing with the computer than I could watching the matches. It's like I had Remy next to me for the countdown, but it was
Right.
like I had my old computer, which the internet doesn't work on. It didn't work on there. It still works at the house. My keyboard doesn't work, so I have to use the portable. But because of the inputs and the audio not working right, I need a USB to plug in instead of the 1/8 inch plug. So I brought my new computer, and I'm like, okay, everything's working good. All the music's set, but for some reason couldn't get the video to work. So now I had to switch back, but I couldn't take the saved music. I had to now go back into the old computer with a on-screen keyboard that you could type one at a time, literally, and it was just chaotic. So that is going to be on the Thanksgiving list to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Plus, we don't have, a few different people been doing the music and nobody was there to do it. So I had to run the music, which I figured I was going to do anyway, because now
Right.
there's 30 different entrances
Right.
and then you have to work with the timer. So, no offense to the ignoramuses who do the music, but hitting a button to do that is fine. But to go back and forth in between 30 different entrances and then having to go back and forth on the 10-second timer, I had zero confidence in anybody there being able to do that. Even I screwed it up a few times. It was like, okay, hit it. And instead of hitting the 10-second timer, I hit the entrance music. So they automatically came out. So it was like, oh. But yeah, as I always say, everything is the calm before the storm. It's like the safe place is the actual show.
Right.
So you're running around. So the lighting guy, it's 1 o'clock. He's still not there. That's the guy I got to pay 600. Sorry, the sound guy. The lighting guy was there. Actually,
Okay.
that finally that hey, we're gonna take care of it. We're just gonna charge you for the sound guy. We'll cover the lighting instead of giving us a reduced price. All right, awesome. So then we had him, and then the next show we didn't have him, and then the next show we didn't have him, and then the next show was like, oh, he's in the hospital. He's getting open heart surgery, and it's like, but what were they about the other two shows? And I talked to the guy, and we bonded over the. He only had 4 bypasses. I said, sorry, bro, I had 6. I'm ahead of you. I'm still ahead of the game. But he was very helpful with the lighting, and the lighting was tremendous.
It
Because
was.
guess what? We had lighting consistently, and he was changing it up. A couple of things we tweak, like, hey, you need to leave the main lights on. I get the coolness you're trying to do, but we can't have like a dark ring while there's action going on. But all great. Sound guy finally shows up. 30 minutes later, he probably showed up, I don't know, 2-ish. Because I'm like, hey, where's the sound guy? Oh, yeah, he should be here. Like within 30 or 40 minutes, it was like, all right, we all said I'm going to go to lunch. And it's like, we haven't even gotten the video working yet. And now, I don't know how long it was, but it was almost 4 o'clock. So maybe it was 2:30 when he went. I don't know. But needless to say, doors are open and we don't even have the video set. Like, dude, I'm paying $600 fucking. You're here for 6 hours, and you're taking an hour plus lunch. It's like, what the fuck? My goodness, what a job that is. And then every time it was like the first song hits, and I'm like, hey, bro, I know you're standing by the bar over there, but can you turn it up? Oh, do you have it at full volume? Yeah, dude, I'm paying you. Can you like do something? You know, you can go back to texting in a few minutes. Like, fuck.
If it
And
makes
you
you
wonder
feel
why people fucking hate dealing with, why I hate dealing with people.
no, seriously, if it makes you feel any better, I know that a couple times that I've gone to some of their shows there, one of their weak points is sound, and it seems like that might have something to do with that guy.
And it happens to do with the boss not being around. It's like, oh, he's off
Yeah,
on Sundays. It's like, okay, but isn't your job more to be during the events? It's like, that's awesome that you're going to be in the office Tuesday fielding 4 calls. But, you know, we're paying thousands of dollars to be in there. And if there's an issue, we have to try to call. So we had one issue. The Ethernet cable, which is what we need, works
right,
fine. We got it working again, no issues. Okay, well, Shant was doing some stuff, but to align it, we needed the Wi-Fi password. Oh, well, it's Mermaid 1 giving it away. But nobody knew what the username was. There's 27 different options to go in there. And he goes, oh, yeah, I think it's a Silverton, corporate. Well, it's not there listed as an added network. We have the Silverton guest free Wi-Fi, which is what I used. And it worked fine for me. I was looking at the scores during the day and nothing was going on. But we
right,
needed the higher grade internet that we're paying the few $1,000s for. And we
right,
just need the Wi-Fi. We don't need the Wi-Fi password if we don't know where to log into.
right,
And it's like, oh, production manager's not answering. Well, isn't this part of the fucking problem? Nobody knows. Nobody's around. The boss is supposed to be there. That's why he's the boss of running the events. So,
right,
yes, I am going to bitch about it again. And it's like, as a best option right now, sure. But it forces me to go out and try to find a different best option.
right,
I was talking with Booker T this week, and he wants to do a show. And right now, that is the best option on the Thursday because I have the Friday slot. So
right,
unless I can switch the Thursday slot with Demand Lucha, I'd prefer to do it at our place and save, the few $1,000s
right,
to do one show at the Silverton Mania weekend. I'd rather do it at our facility and save those costs. So we'll see. But man, we have to scamper now, and late January to mid-February, no escape is going to happen.
right.
And I would be doing myself a disservice if I just accept it.
Sure.
Because the same issues happened. It was like 4 weeks, then 3 weeks. Saw the marquee when I drove up to the day of the show. I didn't see it when I brought the check 2 weeks before the show.
Right.
But everything again was 2 weeks before the show. So I know you didn't put it up 2 weeks before the show. And I know if I gave you the check, it probably took another week to get up there. So now, does it really matter? Because you can't go to the box office and buy a ticket because they don't have a box office. So,
right.
And, I have the QR reader on the phone. The wife has the QR reader on the phone. And hers seems to work fine. Mine, I have issues with. Maybe I'm too old to understand. And it's sending you a website and all this other shit. So if you go to the Silverton Vale Pavilion the day of the show, you are not allowed to get a ticket unless you scan their QR reader on their poster.
Right.
And it's like, we have fans that are in their 40s and their 50s and stuff like that. I don't know how easy it is for them to where maybe they say, screw it. and they don't buy a ticket. I don't know. We're not giving them the opportunity to buy a ticket. It's like, it's 2024. There's technology everywhere, but we can't just buy a ticket at the venue. But I can't sell a ticket at the venue.
Right. Which, you know,
I don't understand it. Wrestling has long been a event that there's a lot of people who decide the last day, the last minute, that they're going to walk up and buy tickets.
right. And that should be. I don't understand, but I also don't understand some of the other things they're doing at Silverton too. And that was like one of the things, like the members club, which had its own section, is now part of the cage. So it just seems like there might be stuff going on in terms of
downsizing, so they don't have to pay as many people.
Yeah.
Because now you get the gift in the same place where you're trying to check out. So now there's still only 2 cashiers, but now they have to deal with different stuff. So now the line's 8 people. Like, I don't go there that often. I got the card, but it was like, hey, they made me an offer, for a free gift or whatever. So I got a couple of free gifts. And all of a sudden I'm waiting online and there's 6 people there, but in 5 minutes I don't move anywhere because somebody's trying to do a cash transaction for their chips or trying to, buy chips. And it's like, I'm just going home. I'm not worried about the gift that is probably not worth 20 minutes of my time.
Yeah.
I was curious to see what it was. It might have been something cool that I could use, but it's like, screw this. I'm going home. Dropped off the check,
Yeah.
And I'm done. So, it is what it is. And it's like, okay, but we've learned. Guess what? Sam's Town don't want to do shit.
Right.
So, but they'll have a concert. I saw they're having some concert. They have some, I forgot who it was. Some hair band is playing there.
They just had Ace Frehley from Kiss.
There you go. Yeah, Frehley's Comets or whatever.
Right. And then Jose Feliciano is coming in December.
Feliz Navidad. He's there early. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, they'll do it. But they only want the higher grade events because, God forbid, they get people in there. I remember the days where Sam's Town would run those daily crap shows just to bring in their, 60-year-old people, 70-year-old people who would want to go play bingo.
Yeah.
And they would tease them by giving them that free lunch show that wasn't really worth anything, but it was just an entertaining thing. And it's like, okay, after the pandemic, it sure seems like, because the casinos did better, that they wanted to offer as little as possible, but they were still getting people in. So I guess they're doing better. Sam's Town saving hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars by not having Gary and the entertainment crew.
Right.
So now it's like you deal with one person. Before you dealt with Gary, and he ran the entertainment at certain places, but and then there were the heads. The Peter Smith guy is now the guy in charge, but Peter Smith was the guy we dealt with at the West Side Cannery when we did stuff. And right before the pandemic, we signed a deal with Sam's Town to do about 6 or 8 shows. And there were like 2 at the cannery and the 4 at Sam's Town. And we were, really connecting with them. And then it just became, oh, okay, because you worked with us before, we're going to give you a really good deal of $6,000 plus labor. And now you're talking like $10,000. And even when I approached them about it, I'd send an email and they wouldn't respond. Yeah. Because, oh, wait, there's only one person to deal with every single thing that's going in there. So, talked with the M Pavilion through our connection with the Silver Knights. And they have basically a Vail Pavilion at the M. And they wanted like a $10,000 drink guarantee. And it's like, oh, no wonder why you only do shows at a pool. because you
Jesus.
must only be trying to do corporate events at the M Pavilion because you got a giant tent that you're not utilizing because you're pricing it out. And it's like, that's great. You're the M Pavilion. You're not Caesars. You can't charge strip prices at the
Right.
M Pavilion. You're a local casino. So you would think you would want something that at worst brings you 300 or 400 fans.
Yeah.
But I know the night before at the Silverton, they had a show. That's why they had to adjust the lighting. Oh no, sorry, they had a wedding the night before. So
Yeah. I think their show schedule is clear now until next year, I believe. But that's
oh yeah, pretty much. I looked. I think there's pretty much nothing coming up. But if we have a show, God forbid they put an email out. Well, you're a 4-wall, and it's like, yeah, and we cost you nothing compared to that other one.
yeah.
And it's like, I don't understand the marketing of it. It's like you send out email blasts to 10, 20, 50,000 people. And just to include our flyer in there, I can't believe would cost more than $0 since you have the marketing for it already.
Yeah, and wouldn't you suspect too, like, I think like doing something like a week prior to the show or something, have a one of the wrestlers at the casino, just kind of
We
an
tried that years
improvement.
ago. Then nobody cares. It's unfortunate, but that's the bottom line. We used to have a table. Unless you're giving away something there, most of those people are going to not be there 5 days later.
Sure.
But the thing is, it's like there is things that they can do, but it's like, so you have here your Led Zeppelin tribute band. But you have us that is going to be there 6 or 8 times. So it's like the building process of, hey, FSW's there. Hey, FSW's there. Hey, FSW's there.
Right.
Now maybe people who know about it that might frequent that place might frequent it just a little bit more. Just
the other
1 or 2 more times they may go to the the steakhouse or the coffee shop or the Mexican restaurant or whatever it is. It's like you have that built-in crowd that you don't have, because when you do your shows of all these tribute bands all over the place, you're always offering the lowest player, because I play at station casinos. That's where I play all the time. So the once every 3 months I play at Silverton, I'm still offered a free ticket to Metalachi, Los Lonely Boys, even the regular bands, because I've gotten past that first status, which is still the lowest of the low. And I'm offered free tickets to that. Okay. Which means you're trying to get me into your building. So how about that other company that puts 300 to 500, 600 people in the building, but they're not our regulars. They're not our people who come to this casino normally. Wouldn't it be cool to get those people? See, you get a free ticket, Matt, because you go there. So you're going to go there a couple days a week. So if you go the day of our show, you might not go Sunday now because you went Saturday, the day of the show, because you got the free ticket or whatever you did, but you were already in their venue. Now, when you're talking about, the chief and all those, and the Furman crew and all our regulars who probably never frequent the Silverton except the day of the show, is somebody at Johnny Rockets eating? Is somebody at the Starbucks? Is somebody at the noodle place? All those people are people that are like tourists, because you're only getting them for that one day. So, hey, they actually do live here. And if they have a really good experience there, maybe if they live within a 20-minute radius, which a lot of people do, maybe they'll actually come into your place because they like the fact that they know it's hard for FSW to get in places. So they want to support the place that's doing it.
Right.
But there's never really the conversation. There's never really like, hey, how can we make this better? It's just like, hey, you got my check? Okay. Hey, is the marquee up? Oh, I'll check for you. Now, whether the marquee's up or it isn't, even if it is up, how about a courtesy call? Hey, Joe, I checked for you to make it seem like I did something and say, yeah, the marquee's up. It's looking good. Blah, 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 blah. I saw the marquee. It looked good. I gave them the PSD because that's what they want so they could break everything up. So instead, they just put the flyer up. So instead of getting 30 seconds of action-packed stuff, just like the last time, all they did was put the Danny Limelight picture because that was the first thing we said. So they put up the thing, boom. They didn't add anything like, hey, get your tickets, nothing. So it's 15 seconds, Future Stars of Wrestling. Like they would normally put the logo and they would break it up because that's what the marketing team is being paid for. And that's what part of what our fees are for them to do it. But guess what? It didn't get done. So guess what? I defend them if I said, hey, do I get like $300 back because you took 3 weeks to put up the marquee? Oh, well, you know, don't fucking come here is basically, it would be the response back.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's frustrating too when you've got, you know, so that's the big marquee. And it probably was within the week of the show. And then the small one on Blue Diamond, I never saw anything, and I'm constantly passing.
Yeah, it's usually there, but again, it's like it is something that's not going to cycle through until 3 minutes down the line, and that's the difference of being up for 5 days and 25 days. Right. If you go by there in 5 days and it's every 3 minutes, it's easy to miss. At 25 days, you're probably got to catch it a couple times.
Although, have you sat at that light? Because
no, I have, and there's a lot of times I've seen it, but it's funny how the last few times I didn't see it.
Right, and that's why I question. The other thing too, even Steve said to me, he's like, you know, just walking through the casino because that's the first time he's been in Silverton since the last time he was at a show, and he's like, going through the casino, I had no idea there's a wrestling show going on. And it's like, there's nothing in their casino, which makes me furious that it's like that's like, you know, your traffic is one thing because you're hitting that broad audience. But when you have people in there that day, it's like, how do you know there's something going on in their pavilion? It just makes no sense.
So, again, FSW is responsible, which is my job, but we're responsible for basically 100% of the people that go to that show. And it's like, but you have a giant casino with a 50,000 email list.
Yeah.
And the job of a casino is to get people in it. So wouldn't you do whatever you can? Or are you that content that so many more people would rather go to the South Point than your casino? Because when we first started, Silverton was a very crowded casino.
Right.
And as the years went by, I remember going to talk to people at the South Point, and you couldn't even park in that motherfucker. Right. Like, that place was packed. Yep. And it's like, it was Ghost Town. Which is funny because it used to be called Boomtown, but Boomtown should have been called Ghost Town because other than having Hootie and the Blowfish there for a while, which was disappointing, I never actually went to that. The fact of the matter is that the Silverton really struggled when it came to getting people there.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know. Is everybody that content with what they make? But it's like, to me, it's simple. It's like, it costs you nothing to send out these emails because you do send them because I get them. I got 2 emails last week. One was, hey, there's a point multiplier. Gives a shit. So now for every $100 you put in, you get 10 cents back instead of 5 cents back. Like, that's going to draw me in. How about having your events? Boom. Even then, when you go to the box office, they would have a postcard. Not that we were on it, but I would get a postcard. You could say whatever you want, but in the past, it used to say FSW June 14th.
Sure.
Now, all of a sudden, it costs too much money to just add us when you already put 5 things on. It ain't like every Friday and every Saturday you got something going on there that you could care less about us. You're lucky to have 3 events the entire month. So you're able to put 2, but not ours.
Yeah.
More than enough time spent on the aggravations of the Silverton.
Well, let's talk about the aggravations of a champion who, first off, the Battle Royal, that
Rumble, Battle Royal's different.
Yeah. Rumble. It was well executed. There's some big beef in the last 5 guys standing, man. Tell you.
Yeah, for
that
sure.
Was an impressive, an impressive storytelling moment there. And Ice, of course, winning and then challenging Danny Limelight. We
it's amazing
all know that
the transformation and the reaction of the crowd. We expected a good reaction when Ice won, but it was a tremendous, reaction for him. So, kudos to Ice to really connect with the crowd. And, let's not say that the WWE ID thing didn't help also.
Sure.
Because that was similar to when Cross showed up at Raw. All of a sudden, the reaction was, hey, this guy is closer than we think. We don't know how much longer we had Cross in that situation to where the crowd was very excited.
When you look at, you said the reaction to Ice, and that I think helped feed into the main event. Danny is so good at getting people to hate him. So it was just a beautiful matchup to see these guys going at it again. It's been a while. And then again, we all know, just little things happen, accidents happen. And man, talk about handling professionally the way to get to where you need to go to finish a match when something happens. Just well handled, and boy, you could tell that those guys, it had to come to an end. They finished it fine. Cody, again, I think Cody doesn't get enough credit a lot of times for the refereeing that he does.
I try to tell everybody, Cody and Austin, they were and are, and it's disappointing with Austin not doing it, but for a while we really had a lag because Cody is as good or better than Austin. Austin's only issue was he was very tall for a ref, but he was so good that the size, him being a lot taller than some of the wrestlers sometimes, but Cody, and again, unfortunately, the difference is most referees in independent wrestling are students or somebody who's training to be a wrestler, and they don't really devote the intricacies to learn about what makes somebody a really good referee. And with Cody and Austin, they both mainly wanted to be refs. And, Cody, by far Like back in the day with Austin, we also had Knox and Borden and Justin. So,
Yeah.
there was 3 great referees on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And right now, Cody outshines everybody.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And, you know, it is what it is. And it's like, we try to get the younger guys. And it's like dipping your foot in the pool. If you can't go all in, you're not going to be great at it. And
Right.
I get it, like Jonathan, who trains and he refs because he wants to be part of it. AJ did it in the past. It's a stepping stone, but sometimes, again, they feel, which isn't true, but they feel that if they do it too well, they may get stuck in that role, and that's not what they want to do.
Right.
So maybe you're not putting 150% effort into it.
Right.
And it really is true when you say the referee can make the match. You can have a good match, not be very good just because there was shit with the ref. I remember our very first show. Kenny went off. We had this guy, and he was been in the business a long time. I still see him. He worked in Detroit with Saban and Scott D'Amore, and he's always around when TNA's there. But he was a fucking horrible ref, and he was in the main event. It was Kenny. I don't know if it was versus Disco or Nightkerk or whoever it was. And man, Kenny went back there fucking fuming because it was just not good. And it's the same thing when you see the hesitation counts, and it's like you see it in WWE, and they'll stop the count. Like
Yeah.
we feel that your job is to count to 3. If somebody doesn't kick out, that's not your fault.
Yeah.
But you get that. I'm not sure if that count to fucking 3.
Right. And no, and I was going to say too, to give Amber credit as well. Amber is doing a great job at progressing. She's come a long way.
She has improved a lot. Yes, even when Gabe was out here, he definitely took notice of her, and she can carry a show when Cody's not there. So we're fortunate because for a while it was like trying to rotate students in, and you had to cringe because sometimes they think all you need to do is count to 3, and it's way more than that.
That's
it's its own entity. We got a couple of fans who have decided that they want to get into the business, and they don't think wrestling is where they're going to get anywhere, but they love it. And we've gotten a couple people recently who signed up just to be referees. So we'll see how that one, how it works out. If you have the dedication and the passion, you have a chance of making it. It's the same thing with the wrestling. I've seen the biggest, baddest motherfuckers walk in the door, within a month or 2 walk out that door.
Yeah.
And that's because they didn't realize how much work it takes.
Right.
To really be good at your craft. And we see the difference. Look at some of the younger guys, and it's like, oh yeah, that was a good match. Yeah, it was a good match because you've only been doing it for 8 months. Watch when professional wrestlers like Tito come in and Hammerstone come in. But you also look at FSW homegrown talent like Shogun and Danny and Ice Williams and Hero Lou and the Jacob Boston Youngs and Vandegriffs and all these guys that come through, and it's like I just shake my head and say, my goodness, what independent wrestling roster is better than ours? And the fact of the matter is, I say none because 3/4 of that roster is guys that have trained with us. And then
Right.
we finish it off and we put the cherry on the top with Hammerstone and Tito
Yeah.
and Danny Limelight and all these other guys that are so good. You know, don't tell me Dutra and Wise Guy aren't one of the best tag teams on the West Coast. Don't tell me Class and Reno ain't one of the best tag teams on the West Coast.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you find guys everywhere. You know, you want to talk about this WWID, and yeah, we didn't really train from the beginning, Jordan Oasis, but you know, he moved to Vegas and he spent a lot of time with us, and
But
we're
but
at two.
but remember,
And
Joe, remember too, and I got to say with Jordan, the thing is that when Jordan got to FSW, he got serious. That's the thing. He went from being someone who had some training, who was doing a good job up north. He got here, he got serious, and he got himself in, the
phenomenal shape. He was
conditioning.
right. He wasn't in great shape before. He was in
Yeah,
okay shape, but right. And now all of a sudden he saw a pecking order. He saw guys that were like, "Oh shit, these guys are good motherfuckers."
yep,
And I remember he would come in early and he hung out with like the Vander Griffiths and the Jay Vidals, and he
yep,
would come in and spend time with guys that were better or, you know, at worst his equals. And he was like, shit, if I'm going to make it in this business, I got to be as good as those guys.
yeah,
And this is just this school that these 5, 6, 7 guys, they're going to be on the radar too. What do I got to do to get there? And as you said, you know, being serious, you know, look at the transformation of Matt Vandergriff when he started. He was kind of that chubby kid who wasn't in great shape, but he could do some cool things. And he didn't really have a direction of a character type thing. But now he looks the part and plays the part. And the
yep,
competition is what it's at. And it isn't like, well, hey, only 2 guys from FSW can get ID'd. Gabe has spent a lot of time here.
yeah,
And, you know, we're talking about doing something Mania weekend. And it's opportunities because it ain't only guys that train at FSW. You know, when Gabe needed guys for the NXT, who did he get? Well, he got from our list. And even though I don't use Primo Henio anymore, he was used on the NXT because he got noticed at FSW. Because when we had the show and Gabe was there, he was there. And he
right,
met him, saw him on the show, liked what he did, and he became another guy. Oh, yeah, this guy. Okay.
yep,
And where did he find those guys? So even though a guy like that may have trained somewhere else, if they did put him in, there's a good chance he might say scouted by Future Stars of Wrestling, even though we haven't used him in 8 months, because that's where Gabe found him.
and the ID thing brings up a great point too. Again, of Vegas is your home base, but go to Booker's place, go to Rikishi's place. Why? Because when you get seen at other places as well, and if those opportunities just happen to come to those places first, then again, you've already got your foot in the door a little quicker. Um, so you're making things happen as well, and I think that that's such a very it's like if you're just going to sit back and be content, that's one thing. But if you want to make it to that next level, you do I love the fact that last week we are talking about the securities and the black shirts, and that night there's Dante King in Utah making sure Kevin Owens doesn't jump Cody Rhodes in the ring. Like, that's what you need to do to be a success.
Right? You know, I try to explain that there are a very, very large group of people and wrestlers that can kind of do the same things. You can go online and be like, oh shit, that guy's really good. Hey, that shit. We've seen it. Jared Diaz, hey, he's really good. Richard Donis, really good. Robert Martyr, is really good. But do you think there's not 30 of those guys, 100 guys and girls that are at that level? The difference is Robert Martyr, Richard Adonis, Jared Diaz, numerous others will try to get spots in different places. And the higher up you get on that level, you know, you got to make, I don't know what it is on Facebook. I don't know if it's because we were ID'd or whatever, but I swear to God, I probably get 10 to 20 new friend requests from actual wrestlers.
Sure.
Every day now for the last month. Now, I'll be honest with you. I would always get friend requests, but it's always 10 to 20 every day. Like the algorithm connected to, hey, go to owner Joe DeFalco FSW. 6 months ago, I wasn't getting 50 email requests a month. Now I'm getting them in a week. So I don't know why it is. And I get all these people, hey, I'd like to come to your show. And it's like, like you're not providing me any info. You know, it's like, hey, we have a school, and B, we have our own promotion. So we're always trying to get our students on first. So I don't really need you who've had 10 matches. But when Class and Zamaya and Reno and that whole Arizona crew says, hey, this Jaden Monroe kid, man, he's doing really well for himself. Guess what? When we have a Future Shock, hey, I'm going to be down here.
Yep.
You make yourself viable to me. It's kind of like, hey, we got Future Shock on December 7th, and I got Flyboy Freddy, and I got that whole Arizona crew. Then there's the second Arizona crew, the one from Arizona Wrestling, that Brittany Brooks's crew.
Right.
And there's a young kid, Taylor Kinsley. There was another kid that I yelled at because the way he tried to introduce himself was embarrassingly bad. I'm like, I have no idea who the fuck you are. Like, I don't know why you would think, oh, well, I'm blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe you should have said that from the beginning, because your first impression was fucking terrible. Okay. And then he came down to the show, one of the Future Shocks, a couple, because they couldn't make the last one because they had their own show that they were actually going to be on. But they come in, and now there was also two from Dom's place that they came the last show. They came again. Hey, we have our gear. We're ready to go. It's like, relax. I appreciate it, you know. But now they will probably get a match at Future Shock. Yep. But Jaden Monroe has proven himself. He's getting a spot here, getting a spot there. Class Reno can't make it. But what happened? He still came to the last show.
Yeah.
I got my own guys who are like, hey, what about me? And it's like, oh, yeah, by the way, I can't make the casino show. And it's my birthday week, so I won't be making the December 7th show. And it's like, in what world do you think I'm going to stop and wait for you, bro?
Right.
It's like, it's your birthday week.
Well, you know,
that's fine. I get it. You're young. You want to enjoy yourself. But, hey, TNA's got a show. They said they want to use you as an extra. Hey, sorry, it's my birthday week. So I know you wouldn't say that. Right. So, obviously, because the discussions are always about being our priority. If you can't be, if Jaden Monroe, other than Dom, of course, because that's where he trains, so that's his number one priority. Right. You guys don't make me your number one priority, but the minute you're ready, or you could make that show, you're literally offended that I don't have anything for you. It's like, see, here's the thing. There's only 8 matches. Maybe there's 2 or 3 tags. So maybe there's only 20 people. Who are you to get the spot over that guy? It was like, okay, we had a spot. Jeffrey Excellence has been out for a while. His wife, he got married, wife had a baby, all that good stuff. So he finally started showing back up about 3 weeks ago, probably took a couple months off. But anytime we had an event before that, whether he was on it or not, we had to go set up a ring somewhere. You can count on Jeffrey Excellence to be there. So we had a guy putting together the Rumble. He wrestles on other shows. He's a champion in NorCal, whatever, Sanders. I have him in the Rumble. Have him throwing people out. Having him, he's a big dude. I didn't tell him he was in the Rumble. I assumed he was going to be at the setup. Wasn't at the setup and wasn't at the show. And now I post the next day, so I can make this one. Okay, well that's great. But that's our big casino show. You were actually going to be on it. But you're maybe not complaining, but you're not happy because you're not getting booked, but you're not inquiring, and you're getting a first preference. Do you think I couldn't have brought in Graves or 8 other people from another state that would kill for a spot on our Rumble show?
Right.
And, I get it. Hey, maybe you're doing something else, whatever. But again, if I'm not your priority, then you're just a guy who is a student who's paying to be there. If I happen to need you and you happen to be around, great. But you're not going to be on that list of names that I know will be on the show.
Right.
Demir's partner won't be there the 7th. Well, I'm not going to punish Demir, but it's hard to make the tag team a tag team when you can't make 3 out of 5 shows.
Right.
So now so what am I supposed to do? So you're a tag team. You can't make it. Now I got to sit on the sidelines.
Right.
Thankfully, Joe says, well, we'll give you a match, Demir. And he wrestled Rainey. And he thanked everybody by dropping an elbow and broke Rainey's jaw and put him out of commission and cost me dues for a month and a half. You're welcome, Demir. But again, he's not going to be punished because his tag team partner can't be there. Right. Because it's a future shock. It's like, regardless if you're on a state of emergency, a moment of truth, a high octane type show, you young guys are always going to be booked first on Future Shock.
Right.
If you're not booked on Future Shock, there's a reason. And the reason is you haven't made yourself available to me when I needed you. So now you are number 23 on a 20-man show. And now for you to be on it, you better hope 3 people can't make it.
Right. Yeah.
And again, it's no harm, no foul. I had to yell at somebody yesterday. It was the same thing. It was like, that's great that you come in with somebody, but you're a young guy who, since you got here, you hadn't paid me dues yet. And then you have the nerve not to come in and you're in the Rumble to not help set up the ring. Then if you say, well, my ride got there late, which is no excuse, you are there after the show and you're not grabbing a fucking guardrail, now I got a fucking severe problem.
Yeah.
And I fucking went off on him. Good kid. Apologize. But he now knows that it ain't happening again. Because I said to him, if it's too much for you, it's okay. No harm, no foul. Just don't come around. Because I don't have to hunt you down when you're coming in here for dues because you didn't have a job yet. I'm not supposed to hit you up every 2 weeks to find out. You're supposed to communicate with me because I got to communicate with 50 of you. And that's the thing that you try to get to people. Like, hey, I understand your situation, but you're not dealing with 50 people. You're dealing with Joe. But Joe's dealing with you and you and you and him and everybody else. So it's your responsibility. You're the one who wants something. You want to get put on a show. If I don't see you, I always say, out of mind, out of sight.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not around. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Like, I'm supposed to hope you're going to be there?
Right. I mean,
I got 100 people to fill one spot right now.
Right. exactly, and
And
that's
these guys, you know, will do whatever it takes to get that spot.
all right. So as we kind of look
Well, let's
here,
talk about the show a little bit.
let's talk about the show. Chief wants to know though,
I don't
where
know. I talked to Paulie. Paulie showed up when we had the fundraiser. I expected him to be there. You know, I'd love to have Paulie back involved. Same thing with Sally.
yeah,
You know, they're dealing with their own things. I don't know if Paulie had to work or whatever. You know, I thought he had talked about he was going to come by to the show, but I didn't see him. Plus, I didn't see a lot of people because I was stuck behind that fucking monitor the whole show. I didn't even realize the place filled up till like, you know, the second after the Rumble match. I was like, oh shit, you know, all the chairs are pretty full. Thank goodness, because even Hammerstone said, he was like, man, when the thing first started, I'm like, fuck, where are all the people? But, you
yeah,
know, that's how it usually is. You know, everybody
yeah,
has to be traditionally late, I guess. But yeah, it filled up. It was a good crowd. They made a lot of noise. They were invested, you
yes,
know. A little quiet
absolutely,
during the Rumble, but during the big spots, they really, they picked up. Uh you know, and again, the show had a lot of hiccups and stuff. You know, I didn't know Maserati. She didn't. She was trying. She went to the training on Friday, and she just knew she couldn't go,
yeah,
and had some discussions. Remy's like, well, hey, you know, I don't know if she's going to be ready in a month. Like, you know,
yeah,
she thought she was going to be ready for now, and then it was like, well, you know, I'll be there for the Christmas show, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to take the belt off her. She's going to be there in a month, and Remy's like, you know, I'm not sure she's going to be ready then. And I had already made the decision to make it a 4-way scramble the night before after talking to Maz.
right.
And
Take a little pressure off of her, and
yeah, and it was like, but I didn't expect the title to be on the line. And Remy's like, well, what if we did this, put the title up, you know? I don't think she's really good to go because she's going to tell you she'll be good to go, and she really shouldn't do
right,
it. So
right,
it's like, okay, I let, you know, that situation play out. So it's like, you know what? All right, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do a title match. And I said, I'm okay with doing the title match, Remy, but what we need, I'm like, is Maz here? He's like, yeah. He's like, you need to go talk to her, and she needs to cut a promo, and she needs to let everybody know what's going on. Because we've done shit like that in the past, and I'll go in there, and people are like, oh, yeah, whatever, what the fuck? You
right,
know, and, you know, hey, we got the unexpected bonus of Maz crying, so that was, you know, that was good for the viral video. As well, it was good because it told the story instead of, because we've had a lot of issues with the women's belt, you
yes,
know, from Viva Van being in the only freak sandstorm that closes a highway in Vegas history, and she can't make the show, and that was a fucking debacle. And then Brittany Brooks, and then she blows out her knee before the match, and then certain things happened in matches that weren't supposed to happen, and it's just
yeah.
a continuous issue that we've had in that situation. So I think everything played out well, you know, and I think Gypsy Max solidified herself as a top
M-
women contender. You know, many
MVP.
people are, you know, it's good when people are upset that somebody didn't win. And I jokingly said, see what happens when you get destroyed by different guys on the roster. Um, that's how
But
she got over. She got beat up.
you know, and good call. You know, one of the things I think that you could have easily pulled, you know, her from the Rumble, but the continuation of telling that story, and then she gets that much stronger by having wrestled in the Rumble and now has to go into a 4-way for that title. Again, the storytelling was perfect in that scenario because
Yeah, that guy who writes the stories for
pretty
us,
good,
tremendous job, I'd
pretty
say.
good. And it just, it paid, again, Alice Blair, hard work pays off. And that potential of seeing Gypsy and Alice now, I think, is feeding into, a
And we did,
potential
and
for
the
future.
thing is, we did see it, and Gypsy's coming off the loss due to outside interference from
Influence.
Mandy Delgado.
Yep.
So that was a tainted win there to begin with.
Right.
So now storylines, and when Maz comes back, she's right in the mix, obviously.
Right.
But everywhere we go, Danny possibly breaking his nose definitely doesn't. That story is far from being finished. And we do know that our next pay-per-view event is No Escape, where we're going to need a few steel cage matches. Now, and then you have the early runnings of, well, despite beating Golden Era and Billionaire Boys Club, or we have new tag team champions in Makeshift Chemistry, and it looks like they're going to be busy with Sky High for a little while.
Yes. Yeah.
The chair shot, man, Fox got smashed.
Well, Fox got smashed, but AJ, holy.
Well, yeah, that too, but
Jesus Christ. Taking it straight to the head. I mean, he got his hand up, but it was, and again, it's great to see when you see these guys progressing. One of the things that Fox and AJ do better than anyone out there is from the minute they walk out to the minute they walk back, those two guys are committed to every fucking single thing that happens. It's insane how it clicks with them, where there's not a moment where you see them and you go, there was something, dead space. It's just they are every single moment into it.
Well, there might be too much. So in that situation, sometimes, again, because they're young,
pull back,
slow it down a little bit, because things get clunky and wonky, because you're going, it's okay to go 400 miles an hour, but you don't need to go 800 miles an hour. You know what I mean? It's
that's the in-ring speed stuff. The stuff I love to see them do is that after stuff where you actually hear Fox say, he's out cold, get people in here. There was worry in that guy's face and he was vocalizing it. A lot of guys won't do that shit.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, watching Fox as he trained, he was always the quiet guy, very nice. How are you? Hello. Very quiet as a trainee. And as they've kind of risen up the ranks, even in the match, he's the loud one.
Yeah.
He's always yelling and screaming at something. And it's like his persona, when you see him at training, man, he really revs it up, in the match. And again, that's probably the reason why, if you look 6-8 months ago, there was 3 or 4 young tag teams that were all bandying for position, that were all really in the same area.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, the rocket ship only carried one team, and it's been that team. And now the other teams still doing all right because they're progressing, but they progressed at a much faster pace. Nothing against the other teams. They can get there. And, hey, the idea with Sky High was like they were everybody's favorite tag team until they maybe weren't the favorite tag team. When they teamed up in a 4-on-4, it sure seemed like Makeshift Chemistry was getting the bigger reaction, which, especially in wrestling, jealousy makes you do things that maybe a month earlier, 2 weeks earlier, it isn't something that you would do. So coming out of this show, we have, tag teams, because I'm not sure Billionaire Boys Club and Golden Era don't have a beef with each other.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that's a great tag
That's
team
a
match that I want to
great
see.
tag team match, man.
You know, if you don't think guys like Hammerstone and Shogun, or I don't want to see Hammerstone or Shogun against Bad Dude Tito, you're fucking nuts. That's a great match. Great match for Shogun. Great match to see. We seen Hammerstone and Tito in tags in the very beginning of the Gods of War versus the Pistoleros back in 2012. So having Tito around, and again, it's the Rumble. You don't really do it. But when you saw the interaction when now it's Shogun and Tito in the final two, you get to see what you got a little taste of what Tito can do in a one-on-one matchup.
Yeah.
I love Che Cabrera, but watching Tito in a singles means I get to watch him do it for 15 minutes instead of having to split it. It's like, if I can get Che back 1,000%, but I may just run it as two singles because they're that good. And it's like, our roster, as I said. So when you're a younger guy and you don't make something, it may not be a big deal for that show, but I'm always trying to upgrade. And if Danny Limelight's always around, and now Tito's around, and then we still got Shogun, and now Hero's back, guess what? The pool of roster to be on that show shrinks.
And then, I'll really quick, I just want to get this one in here. Flavor Soul says, I wanted to send warmest wishes. Happy Thanksgiving. Joe, miss you guys very much, and I'm glad things are going well for FSW. One of the things in bringing up spots, then I look at two of my absolute favorite matches of the night, and that was Eli and Damian and Matt and Bateman. Holy fuck.
I'll be honest with you. That Eli Everfly Damian Drake match ended too soon for me. It was like all that craziness, and it was like, oh shit, match is over. Like, I wanted to see more.
And Matt and Bateman, man, you talk about, and again, the greatest thing, and I think that this show really just hit the nail on the head in terms of the best thing about pro wrestling, and that is there's something for everyone. It's like a circus, because you saw the clowns, you saw the elephants, you saw the lions, you saw the acrobat. I mean, everything was there, and Matt and Bateman literally beat the crap out of each other, but from picking them apart and watching it, everything made so much goddamn sense. And boy, man, when you have a guy like Matt who's able to give Bateman those rest spots, right? And then they can hit boom, boom, boom. And then it's that psychology wrestling again. And then a couple spots, boom, boom. It just builds and builds. And like you said, like with Eli and Damian, yeah, man, I could 20 more minutes on that, man. That's your midnight match, man. There's your hour Iron Man match that's there.
And it's those the Eli Everflies, the Tito Escondidos, a Tom Lawler. It's like there's so much that we can incorporate in, but you have so many guys, and it makes it so difficult. And it's crazy because we only have 5 matches technically, because you take that Rumble out,
right?
You have 5 matches.
Right.
And it's like you start off, you got Damian Drake, you got Eli Everfly, it's going to be a crash site. Then we had to switch it up, but you have the women's match, totally different. It's going to attract a different. Then you go to the polar opposites. You got Vandegrift and Bateman. Ground and pound. He wants to make sure fucking Matt can't do certain things. If you're a fan of wrestling, you got to like that match. Right. Then all of a sudden now you got a tag team match, and it's a triple threat. And you got these 2 heel teams that I always jokingly say I always say to Class and Reno, I'm like, man, you guys are almost exactly alike. I said, other than Wise Guy being in better shape than you, Devin Reno, and Dutra being a little better than you on the microphone, you guys are almost exactly the same. But the thing is, they are, because you got 4 guys who can work.
Yeah.
And one is in, and again, they're all in really good shape. It ain't like, the Dutra's not in good shape. No, but Wise Guy's just in, he's in that 1%.
Yeah.
But bringing Wise Guy in with Dutra makes me happy, because Wise Guy is a guy. Now it's Nick Stevens, but he is a guy I've known for a very long time, who's been so wanting to be a part of the FSW roster. But unfortunately, through everything that we're doing and everything going on, he was a guy. He shows up. You might not see him for a year. You might see him 2 or 3 times in 6 months, and then you might see him again for a year and a half. And it's like, when he presented me the idea of doing something with Dutra, I've always been a huge fan of tag team wrestling.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, let's give this a shot and see what's going on. And
Dutra is so good too.
But I'm saying, and he's fantastic on the microphone. Yeah. But he also is a professional wrestler.
Exactly.
He's a guy that, when they're going over things, like, I see him after the match, and he doesn't do it in a callous way. He doesn't do it to shit on anybody, but he did it when the Mariachis, they wrestled. He did it with the time they wrestled AJ and Fox, and he did it again. There's certain things that when he's not in the match, he's not like, he's watching every fucking thing in the match. And then after the fact, he'll go back there and say, need to work on this. This was this. Because, there were certain things I told JJ and Fox that I wasn't happy with in the match. And it's funny, because generally it's the same shit that Dutra is going to be saying.
Yep.
And Wise Guy. And they have a master class that after every match, when they wrestled the younger guys, that they sat down with them and went over. And it wasn't a shit fest to where this sucked, that sucked, and the other thing sucked. It's like, working this. And those are leaders in the locker room. And it's really hard to have a leader in the locker room when they've only been there 3 or 4 times, unless you have a lot of confidence in what you're doing. Yeah. And I'm always behind guys coming in. If you don't try to pick a Tito's brain, Kenny's also there, Hammerstone, when Chris is always around. Like, you have so much knowledge. That's why I was like disgusted when we do an Amazing Red seminar, not only one of the best tag team wrestlers, one of the best singles wrestlers, that no tag teams are there to ask him questions about stuff. Yeah. It's like, the only thing you can do in this business differently is how much knowledge are you going to acquire in your lifetime? As they say, so guys who've been doing it for 5 years, 6 years, 7, you don't ever stop learning. So when you're only a couple of years in and you're banding about at the school and you're wrestling some future shocks, get over yourself. You're not in those guys' leagues. I'm bringing in guys that are legit major league wrestlers. Yep. I am personally making sure I don't make money, or I make sure I make less money by bringing in people I don't have to bring in. I didn't have to bring in Tito to pay him to be in this match. I didn't have to pay Kenny, since he wasn't winning, to be in this match. Right. So I'm spending upwards of a lot of money on top of the venue cost, where I could be like, fuck, I'll put all the fucking kids in and save good money by not bringing in 4 name guys. And oh shit, I just saved myself $1,400. Well, guess where that $1,400 would have went? It would have in my fucking pocket.
Yeah.
FSW's pocket. No,
Yeah.
that's giving back. It's giving people the opportunity. It's bringing in Tito again to maybe get a match with Shogun. Why? Because I think it's going to make Shogun a better wrestler at the end of the day. That's why I brought in Carlito and Chris Masters to wrestle Hero Lou and Shogun in a tag title match. You get to see that style. The WWE style is totally different. Carlito will always work that WWE match.
Yeah.
While Chris Masters has really evolved from that.
Right.
And those guys, you know, as good as a Dutra and Class are, the younger guys may listen, but they're going to pay attention to Carlito and Chris Masters and all these guys. You know, if Jacob Austin Young, or when Jacob Austin Young comes back and you're not picking his brain about Japan, you know, this is a guy who started with us, moved away from Arizona, and probably like 2011. It's 2024. It took him 13 years to go to Japan. You want to talk about perseverance, hard work? As good as Jacob Austin Young was as my No Limits champion and tag wrestler with Death Proof, look at the transformation of him. Look at the transformation of Gregory Sharp.
Yes.
Look at guys that we have brought in that all of a sudden, the Batemans, who had been around for 10, 12 years, and then all of a sudden Ring of Honor knocked on the door in New Japan. You know, just because you saw Chris Bay in 2 or 3 years get a TNA contract, that is not the norm. Sometimes,
but you know, that's a great point too. Don't forget, look at Bay, because if you look at where Bay was when he signed that contract, and look at where Bay went to from that point to now, that's the difference, right? That's the whole thing. It's timing and opportunity and evolution. And you have to have all three of those things to grow into that professional wrestler. You know, and that's exactly what we're seeing with Jacob Austin Young, right?
You know, and I always told Chris, his gear is some of the best gear I've seen, period, in professional wrestling. You know, here was a guy who had no money, and he would get whatever he could for his gear. And he knew that was maybe the weak point in the thing, where now all of a sudden it's like, oh my God. And then you looked at the shape that this guy is in, you know, for a guy who was undersized, you know, everything matters. You have to put everything into place to get there. You know, I used to joke with Tito and Che. It would be like, they were like husband and wife, you know, and it'd be like, oh, one's out of shape and the other's in good shape. Oh, then the other one's in good shape. The other one's out of shape. And then all of a sudden, whatever it was clicked in. And now these guys are monsters. And what happened? Well, Che went to the New Japan thing. He got on New Japan Strong. Tito gets to go to Japan. Hasn't in a while, but he goes to Japan. He's a mainstay on the Bloodsport. Royce Isaacs and Jarrell Nelson. Same thing. These are guys that were, you know, Joe Locard when they came to me. And I saw a lot in them. I saw what the potential could be. Now, that becomes up to them to do it. But having conversations, talking with them, I felt the investment in those guys, Royce and Jarrell, put them together. They exceeded beyond all expectations. Right. I brought in the Rascals. I brought in the Reno Scum. I brought in people, and they were having great matches. And they were ahead of the curve because the crowd wasn't as into them yet,
right?
Even though they were my champions, because they were a young team that were kind of just random guys on a show that because Jacob Austin Young and Remy and Jack and all those guys went to China, and it basically destroyed my tag team division.
Right.
Who knows what would have happened if there was no China and 3 or 4 of my tag teams didn't leave to go to China?
Right. Yeah.
Would I have said, would Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaacs have ever gotten together? You know, it's weird how higher power, the manifesting, all this fucking shit you hear as we've gotten older. But it's like, what if you didn't walk in that door that day?
Yeah.
What if this didn't happen? What if there's so many what ifs, and it's just as much bad stuff as just as much good stuff. Hey, if he, you know, who got killed because they went and did something that they weren't going to do, and then they ended up doing it, and then something happened.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like it's mind-boggling that if you take a step back, because a lot of times, I don't believe in this, I don't believe in that, but it's like it's amazing how in the blink of an eye, something that you did changes the whole spectrum of your existence.
Right. Yeah. All right. As we kind of get close to wrapping up here, Chief, just to let you know, the Reno Scum, probably not one more match now that Thornstone is pretty much hung up the boots.
As of now, I talked to Luster last week.
Okay.
And we're talking about maybe doing some stuff with FSW up in Reno. But Luster's looking to get back in prime shape. I jokingly said, hey, I don't know if Hero Lou's making it, bro. If you can drive down to Vegas, I'll put you in at number 30. He's like, whoa, I'm not ready yet. But he said, you never know. Adam may say in 6 months, holy shit, that hip replacement fucking feels great. I'm going to do it again. You never know. But the thing is, Luster's another guy that, both of those guys gave up a really good singles career to have I guess you could say, a great tag team career.
Yeah.
People forget how good they were because, in wrestling, I think time goes quicker. 5 years is forever in the wrestling business. And they really never got what they deserved in TNA, to be honest with you. They were kind of brought in to be that put over everybody else team. And they were the most popular team for a long time in FSW history, And again, talking with Luster about it, he's the same way dealing with the students about being ungrateful fucks, and it was like, to this day, he'll say, he'll hear people, they're talking shit because, if you didn't get something when you came through FSW, it wasn't because you guys weren't the best and you guys weren't good enough. It was because I didn't like you. I was an asshole. And the Scum were guys who would drive from Reno for $50. And then it was $75. Then it was $100. Then it was free and I'll fly me in from Reno. Then it was $100 and I fly you in. Then it was $150. And he says, Joe always paid me, but they had to earn what they got. But they also knew that Joe was giving them Paul London and Brian Kendrick.
Sure.
Go ask the Young Bucks who have the most wins against them. And it's the Reno Scum because that's what Joe brought the Young Bucks in for.
Right. Yeah.
So, you get what you deserve when it comes to me. I never let people could say whatever they want, but the bottom line is when you earned your spot and you get that spot, you got it because you earned it. 7 months ago, I would have laughed if you said, I bet you makeshift chemistry is going to be your tag champs. I'm like, yeah, that's fucking hilarious. That's going to happen. But it is what it is. Why? Right. Because they earned it. Yes. That's the thing. I don't give it away. You have to earn it. And for all the young guys, earn the fucking thing. there's plenty of guys I had rough outings with in the beginning because they were young. They don't know any better, and they didn't listen to the right people. Then all of a sudden they listen to the right people and they realize, hey, I'm actually looking out for them, and I'm trying to give them the best opportunity that they can get. So,
yeah. Really quick before we go, December 7th, I believe, is the Future Shock, correct?
Yeah, we got 3 shows lined up. December 7th, Future Shock. December 21st, we're going to do our Christmas toy drive show. So there'll be discounted tickets for you to bring in a unwrapped toy. And then the tradition continues on New Year's Eve. I'm not going to be struggling to put together a card. I'm going to be struggling to try to get as many people on as I can, because, everybody likes working the New Year's show.
You might have to start the show at 8 and just have a 15 match going.
Well, one idea was to do a 24-hour match leading into New Year's.
Right.
So
I still want to see that happen. That's
never know.
That's one way to get all the guys on this show.
Yeah. And we were going to do multiple versions. You could have Cutthroat Cody and Crash Test Cody.
Right.
And Death Proof Cody.
And Death Proof Cody. And let's see, on the 7th.
Yeah, 5 o'clock on the 7th, so a different time.
Yeah. And again, it's a Future Shock, so if you're, if you can make it out, come on down. If not,
cheapest wrestling ticket in FSWs of the Future Shock, $20 front row, $15 for the general admission. It's usually a good mix of family and friends who are coming out to support. Our guy Colin, 18 years old, Cal Jack brought him in. Nice. And he is ready, and he'll be making his debut. And he's the guy who brought like 15 people just to be against my better wishes Hook instead of Sammy Guevara in the Halloween gimmick battle royal. So having an actual match, hopefully he's going to be the guy that's going to sell 30 tickets.
Yeah. So check it out. And again, if you're not over in Vegas, you can check it out on Triller.
Triller TV, yes.
Final thought here, too, from Scoop. Joe has been nothing but upfront about his expectations, which is, I think, again, when you, like you said, when you have those little whispers outside and the stories are, oh, Joe this, Joe that, but, being around and having being around, Bassman at UPW, the truth of the matter is that I've never heard anything that you've said, never heard anything that he said that was not honest up front. And unfortunately, sometimes for the person, maybe not what they want to hear, but is the honest evaluation. And sometimes it just takes looking in the mirror and going, hey, maybe I need to reevaluate my equation, my part of the equation here. And again, it's a matter of realizing that the idea is you want to go to that next level. So how do I listen, learn, improve, and gain that confidence so that I am like Chris Bay or like G Sharp or like Jacob Austin Young, where you can't deny that these guys walk out and the confidence is there, man. These guys have the it factor,
Well, and that's why I always call it the Major League Wrestling. Major League Wrestler. When we saw Eli Drake first come to WWE, get released, come back and show up at the Silverton, as high an opinion we had of him, it was like, holy fuck, that the transformation of just being in developmental, again, the gear, top of the fucking line.
Yep.
The nobody was ever going to doubt that he was never in great shape, but he was somehow in better shape.
Right.
And he's now a major league wrestler. Tito's now a major league wrestler. Jacob Austin Young's a major league wrestler. Gregory Sharp's a major league wrestler. Matt's on his way to being a major league wrestler. Yeah. All these guys, because they're getting the seasoning and they're getting to work with people. Because, what you got to understand is it was like when we did the Mecca with Hammerstone and we finally decided to incorporate our best guys. As good as Hammerstone may believe he is, he doesn't know if he's at the level of a Moose or a Sami Callihan or these guys that he sees on TV that he wants to be there. And now all of a sudden I say, you know what? I'm putting Hammerstone against Sami Callihan. And I'll tell you what, it was a Mecca show. Hammerstone was my champion and he fucking lost. You know why? Because at the time, my idea is Sami Callihan's here, Hammerstone's here, and Sami Callihan's the guy. The Mecca's going to be kind of separate from the FSW. And then I watched the match, just like I watched Santana versus Danny Limelight, and I'm like, fuck, there really isn't much of a difference between these two. If the roles were reversed, Hammerstone could have been the guy fucking killing it at TNA and not Callihan because he ended up being signed. And you realize, which if I realize it, I know Hammerstone's like, fuck, I'm just as good. I should be in this fucking company. Yep. Now, of course, your confidence level. Jacob Austin Young is wrestling guys that he's been watching for years and saying, holy shit, I can hang with these motherfuckers.
Yep.
And how does your confidence not soar? And that's the most important thing. It's like in boxing. Hey, once you become the champion, you become better. Because now you believe. You could say deep down, I believe. But until you get that opportunity to prove it, there's always going to be that question of whether you can. And as what Scoop said, it's like I am most appreciative when I have to, and it ain't a big favor, calling it a favor. Hey, Brian Cage, can you do me a favor? Pop by the school, sign some posters for Chris. Oh, yeah, I'll be there. When guys like Cage and Tito and Luster and all these guys who've gone to another level, and Royce and Jarrell, that my name is a good name in their eyes, it doesn't bother me that that guy who didn't make it thinks I'm a fucking piece of shit.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, go check out your shortcomings. From day one, I've told everybody, if they've asked, what I thought. Now, you might not like what I thought, but I'm not a piece of shit because that's what I thought. And has there been people proving me wrong in certain situations? Absolutely. There's guys that I didn't think would get to a certain level that did. But I didn't stop them because I had an issue with them.
Right.
And it's like, look in the fucking mirror. I can look in the mirror every day for and be happy with the decisions I made. I'm more disgusted half the time of doing shit because I feel the ungratefulness that, again, just like you feel a certain way, I feel a certain way. I could be wrong. Maybe you do feel grateful. But my opinion is you don't seem to. So don't get mad at me when your opinion is I don't push you because I don't like you, not because you're not good enough.
Right. Yeah.
Do you think you're better than Bateman? Yet you've done nothing in this business? Like, here's a guy that is such a valuable resource. He ran class Monday. Same 6 or 7 people show up. We got 20 fucking something students.
Yeah. Yep.
So Bateman is a guy who comes in now. We got him working at least every other Monday. Regular on our staff. That class should be fucking packed.
Yep.
It's a new face.
Yep. Yeah.
So, if you want it in this business, it's the And I ain't saying it's easy, but it's the easiest it's ever been to be noticed.
Right.
Now, Gabe came to our show. There's younger guys that he saw and he liked something about it. And it's not because they're great wrestlers yet, and they're not even good wrestlers yet. There are guys that haven't even really been doing shows that he liked their attitude. He liked their look. He liked their gear. He liked something about him. He felt that I am going to keep notice of that person. Here's my email. Send me some matches. Hey, Brett the Threat, I like what you're doing. Because the hardest thing it is in this business is to get noticed.
Right.
So when you have an avenue, you could work every fucking show in this fucking town. Awesome. But you ain't getting noticed. You ain't getting to show up at TNA and be used as a regular. You're not being able to go to NXT and be used on a show. So maybe show a little more fucking appreciation for what you do have here.
Right. Yeah.
You know, we are a valuable commodity.
Oh, there's no doubt.
If you don't think so, there's a fucking door.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people. I don't owe you nothing. You know, I wish, but WWE isn't giving me money to be like, hey, Joe, good job. Hey, you got these guys in. Hey, here's a bonus because we signed 3 of your people. Give a fuck. So I have to hustle. And I go to Gabe and say, hey, I have an idea for Mania weekend. Is it going to make me money? I don't know. But it's going to give us a little more exposure. I've come up with a couple of different ideas for Gabe that I think are fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, Mania weekend's going to be packed with people. So I always have ideas of what to do. As I said, talk with Booker T. Talking about because Thursday night. Maybe we have Reality of Wrestling versus, call it FSW versus Reality of Wrestling, the battle for Ice Williams. You know, since that motherfucker Booker tried to take credit, like he did something to get Ice Williams. Couldn't announce him on our show the night before. Had to do it at yours. I'm offended. Maybe I have to get in the ring with Booker T. You know what I'm saying?
And just to let you know, Chief, it's Gabe Sapolsky with the WWE, and that's who we're
he came to Survival of the Fittest.
You mentioned Gabe.
Scouted Jordan Oasis at that show, needed a match. Said you need him to have a match. That's why he was in a pre-show match. Because he wanted to see him live.
Yep.
What am I going to say? No?
And he gets an ID. So
there you go. I want an honorary ID badge, you know. Future Stars of Wrestling. Right now, the #1 wrestling school for ID'd wrestlers.
Right. Yeah. Right. And it's, again, it's not going to slow down.
On me all you want.
That's the thing.
You know,
well, there's the soundbite for the week.
Yeah, make yourself feel better. Shit on me all you want.
All right, everyone.
I know how much hard work's put in.
Exactly. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with us. And until next time, happy wrestling, everybody.